Someone asked the person you love, would you marry someone else if it meant keeping your home, protecting your family, and receiving everything promised to you? The question was asked inside a private conference room where relatives, lawyers, and the person everyone expected them to marry were waiting for a simple yes. Documents had already been prepared. A public announcement was scheduled. Two families believed the future had finally been decided. But your person placed the pen back on the table, looked directly at everyone who had spent years controlling the choices around their heart, and answered, "No. I would rather lose everything in this room than marry someone while pretending I never loved the person I was too afraid to choose." The entire room became silent, because they were not speaking about a distant memory. They were speaking about you. Your person did not know the conversation would reach you. The meeting was supposed to remain confidential, but an independent legal witness recorded it because several decisions involved property, family assets, and a trust created many years earlier. After the meeting ended, your person requested a copy of the recording and asked that one section be delivered to you. They did not send it because they expected you to return, forgive them, or become responsible for the consequences of what they had just refused. They sent it because people around them were already preparing to tell a different story. By tomorrow, you may hear that your person became emotionally unstable, rejected a wonderful opportunity, or destroyed a family agreement because they were still obsessed with someone who had moved on. They want you to hear their actual answer before other people transform it into another accusation against you. The meeting began with an inheritance issue connected to the house where your person grew up. The property may have looked like an ordinary family home from the outside, but it represented much more. It contained generations of history, part of a family business, and financial security for several relatives who depended upon decisions your person would eventually make. For years, they were told that an older family member had created a plan requiring them to establish a stable family before receiving control of the house and the business shares attached to it. No one openly described the arrangement as forced marriage. Instead, they used softer language. They said leadership required maturity. They said the family needed reassurance that your person would not make impulsive decisions. They said marrying someone familiar and approved would protect everyone from uncertainty. The person selected for this future had been present for a long time. They came from a family trusted by your person's relatives, understood the business, and appeared compatible with the life already planned. They were not necessarily cruel. In many ways, they were intelligent, respectful, and dependable. That made the pressure more difficult to challenge. Your person could not point toward an obvious danger and explain why the arrangement felt wrong. Everyone kept asking what more they wanted. The proposed partner was attractive, stable, financially responsible, and accepted by every important person in the room. Whenever your person hesitated, the family said hesitation proved they were still emotionally trapped by an unhealthy past. That unhealthy past was the name they gave to you. You had not attempted to destroy the family. You had not demanded access to their money or property. You had never asked your person to abandon everyone they loved. What you asked for was more frightening to the people controlling the situation. You asked your person to make decisions honestly. You noticed how often they changed their answer after speaking with family. You saw plans disappear whenever a relative disapproved. You recognized that your person's generosity had become an obligation everyone expected but rarely appreciated. You told them that loving family did not require surrendering the right to build an independent future. Your person loved hearing those words when both of you were alone. In private, they admitted they wanted a different life. They imagined living somewhere chosen freely, creating traditions that belonged to both of you, and making decisions without submitting every hope for family approval. They spoke about marriage carefully, almost indirectly. They asked what kind of home you wanted. They wanted to know whether you believed two people could remain close to family without allowing family to control the relationship. Once, they even asked what kind of ring you would choose if someone wanted to give you something meaningful rather than expensive. But when family pressure appeared, your person changed. The future they described privately became impossible to acknowledge publicly. They said the timing was wrong. They claimed too many responsibilities needed attention first. They asked you to remain patient while refusing to define what patience was supposed to achieve. You waited because their feelings seemed real, but uncertainty gradually transformed those feelings into pain. You began asking whether they would ever choose the connection openly. The question frightened them because it required an answer they could not hide behind. Your person knew choosing you could mean losing financial security, family approval, and access to the home they had been raised to protect. Instead of admitting that fear, they made the problem sound romantic. They said the connection was becoming too intense. They suggested both of you needed distance. They accused you of expecting decisions before they were ready. You believed the depth of your love had become a burden. The truth was that your love exposed the price of their obedience. During the final weeks of your connection, a family member showed your person a document supposedly taken from the original trust. One paragraph said control of the home would transfer only after your person entered a marriage recognized by the trustees. The relative explained that the older family member who created the trust wanted the property protected from unstable relationships and outsiders who might divide family assets. Your name was never written in the document, but everyone understood who "outsider" meant. Your person asked whether marrying you would satisfy the condition. The answer was no. They were told the trustees had complete discretion and would never approve someone who questioned the family structure. The relative warned that choosing you could lead to the house being sold, the business divided, and several family members losing their income. Your person imagined becoming responsible for everyone's suffering. They began viewing the relationship not as a choice between love and fear, but as a choice between you and the survival of the entire family. They never told you this. They believed explaining the pressure would make you feel guilty or force you to defend yourself against people already determined to reject you. They also feared you would ask them to choose, and they were not ready to discover what their answer might be. Instead, they pushed you away. The sentence that ended the connection was something they have replayed ever since. Perhaps they said, "I do not see myself marrying you," or, "You need to find someone who can give you the future you want." Their voice sounded controlled, but the words were not true. They expected you to argue, demand another explanation, or remind them of every promise made in private. You became quiet. You asked only whether that was truly their decision. Your person said yes. You believed them because respecting someone's stated choice was the only dignity left available to you. After you walked away, your person returned to the family home and told everyone the problem had been resolved. Relatives comforted them, praised their maturity, and said the pain would eventually disappear. The approved partner became more present. They did not immediately discuss marriage. They offered friendship and practical support while your person learned to live with the absence they had created. Every time your person missed you, someone reminded them of the trust. Every time they considered contacting you, someone described the people who could lose their livelihoods. Every time they questioned whether the condition was fair, they were told that family duty required sacrifice. Your person slowly accepted the idea that marrying someone else was not betrayal. They called it responsibility. They told themselves that many people build stable marriages without beginning with overwhelming love. Perhaps companionship, shared history, and approval would become enough. They attended dinners, accepted introductions as a couple, and allowed relatives to speak about the proposed marriage as though it were inevitable. But one question continued returning: if the arrangement was so right, why did saying yes feel like lying? The answer began emerging 2 weeks before the conference room meeting. Your person was asked to collect older property records from a secure storage facility because the trustees were preparing the final transfer. Among the files was the original handwritten letter created by the older relative who established the trust. It was not the formal legal document, but it explained the values the trust was intended to protect. Your person began reading casually. Then they found their own name. The letter said, "This home must never become a weapon used to control whom they love. If they marry, the decision must be freely made. Any trustee who conditions their inheritance upon choosing an approved partner has misunderstood everything I built." Your person read the sentence repeatedly. It contradicted the story they had been given for years. The original creator of the trust had not demanded an approved marriage. They had written the opposite. They were afraid later relatives would use the property to control personal decisions. The trust did contain a stability requirement, but stability referred to financial preparation and responsible management. Marriage was listed as one possible life circumstance requiring updates to the trust, not as a condition for receiving it. The paragraph your person had previously seen was real, but it had been removed from its surrounding context. The trustees possessed authority to review changes affecting ownership. They did not possess the authority to select a spouse. Your person had ended the connection because of a condition that did not exist. They immediately requested the complete legal record. At first, the family's lawyer said the archived documents were complicated and needed professional interpretation. Your person insisted. An independent attorney reviewed everything and confirmed the truth. No legal clause required marriage. No clause permitted the family to reject you. The trustees had used vague language and your person's fear to create an obligation the original document never contained. This discovery did not bring immediate relief. It brought rage. Your person realized they had allowed a manipulated paragraph to become more powerful than the promises they gave you privately. They had looked into your eyes, denied the future they wanted, and watched you leave because someone said several relatives might lose a house that had never legally depended upon their marriage. But another discovery made the betrayal more personal. The storage file contained a sealed envelope addressed to your person by the older relative who created the trust. The envelope had been written shortly before that person passed away, but it had never been delivered. Inside was a photograph of you and your person taken during an ordinary family event. Your person had not known the older relative even remembered meeting you. On the back, the relative had written, "This is the first time I have seen them look like their future belongs to them." A short letter accompanied the photograph. It described you warmly. The older relative said you were respectful, observant, and unafraid to ask questions others avoided. They had noticed how your person became calmer around you, not more unstable. They wrote that some family members might resist the relationship because your influence would encourage independence, but independence was not betrayal. The final sentence said, "Do not let this house become the reason they lose the person who makes it feel unnecessary." Your person had been told the trust's creator would never have approved of you. The truth was that this person may have understood the connection better than anyone else. The envelope also contained a jeweler's receipt. Your person recognized the date immediately. It came from the period when both of you were still together. The receipt was for a custom ring they had secretly designed for you. Your person had placed the order after one of your deepest conversations about the future. They never collected it because family pressure intensified before the completion date. The jeweler had later contacted the family home when your person failed to respond. Someone paid the remaining balance, collected the ring, and stored it with the trust papers. Your person had believed the order was cancelled. The ring remained inside a small box beneath the letter. Its engraving contained words connected to a promise only both of you understood. Your person held it and remembered the exact future they had been preparing to offer before fear changed everything. They had not been uncertain about loving you. They had been uncertain about surviving the consequences of choosing you. Instead of sharing that fear, they made you believe the uncertainty was about your worth. The approved partner learned about the discovery before the family meeting. Your person called them and asked whether they knew the trust did not require marriage. The person became quiet. They admitted that one of the trustees had explained the situation years earlier. They knew marriage was not legally necessary, but they had been told your person needed strong encouragement to make a sensible decision. They defended themselves by saying they never forced anyone. They said your person had accepted the relationship willingly and that genuine affection had developed over time. Your person asked whether they knew about the ring. They said yes. The family had shown it to them before discussions of marriage became serious. They were told your person purchased it during a confused and unhealthy period. They agreed that returning it would reopen the past unnecessarily. The approved partner had not created every lie, but they had benefited from silence. They sat beside your person while relatives described you as someone who never belonged. They accepted public assumptions about a future together while knowing your person had once been preparing to propose to you. They hoped time and proximity would transform emotional dependence into love. Your person asked, Would you still want to marry me if you knew part of me was standing at the altar wondering what would have happened if I had been brave? The person answered that marriage could create a new loyalty. That response frightened your person. Marriage should not be used to bury an unresolved truth. The conference room meeting was arranged because your person refused to sign the final transfer documents until everyone explained what had happened. The trustees, relatives, approved partner, and lawyers gathered around the table. Some believed the shock would fade when your person understood how much property and financial responsibility remained at risk. The lead trustee began by saying the family had made difficult decisions to protect everyone. They admitted the marriage condition had been simplified but denied intentional manipulation. They said your person had been emotionally vulnerable during the relationship with you and needed direction. Your person placed the complete trust letter on the table. They read the sentence prohibiting the home from being used to control love. No one could claim the instruction was unclear. One relative said the older family member had been idealistic and did not understand the risks attached to someone like you entering the family. Your person asked what specific risk you created. The relative mentioned your questions about financial dependence, shared accounts, and family boundaries. Your person answered, "Those were not risks to me. They were risks to the control you had over me." Another relative warned that speaking disrespectfully could lead to permanent division. Your person said the division began when the family hid information and called it protection. The approved partner remained silent. Then the independent lawyer asked the question that now matters. They needed a clear answer for the official record. If the trust was transferred without a marriage condition, did your person still intend to proceed with the proposed marriage voluntarily? The lawyer asked, "Would you marry someone else if no family expectation, property issue, or financial consequence required it?" Everyone expected hesitation. Your person answered immediately. No. The lawyer asked whether they needed more time. Your person said, "I have already used too much time to avoid the truth." One trustee asked whether the answer was based upon discovering the ring and remembering an old relationship. Your person replied, "The ring did not create the truth. It proved how long I have been lying about it." Then the approved partner asked the question more directly. "Are you saying you would never marry me because you are still waiting for them?" Your person did not use you as a weapon. They did not say you were better, more beautiful, or more deserving. They said the proposed partner deserved someone who could stand beside them without comparing the life they shared to a future that was abandoned through fear. Marrying them under those conditions would be another act of dishonesty. The partner asked, "What happens if the person you love wants nothing to do with you?" Your person answered, "Then I accept that consequence." But their answer cannot make this marriage honest. That sentence silenced the room. Your person refused to turn you into a guaranteed reward. They understood that ending the arrangement did not give them a right to return to your life. Even if you had moved on permanently, marrying someone else to avoid being alone would still be unfair. The family attempted another argument. They said your person was destroying a secure future for a relationship that no longer existed. Your person replied that they were not destroying security for romance. They were refusing to use another person's heart as a shelter from regret. Someone asked whether they intended to remain alone forever. Your person looked at the ring and answered, "Would rather remain alone honestly than stand beside someone while secretly mourning the person I pushed away." The approved partner began crying. Your person apologized, not for ending the arrangement, but for allowing it to continue while emotionally unavailable. They admitted accepting comfort and companionship without being honest about how unresolved the past remained. The partner had participated in silence, but they had also invested real feelings. Your person did not pretend only one side had been harmed. They removed the ring or document representing the proposed engagement and returned it. They said the relationship should end without public humiliation. No one needed to be portrayed as rejected for someone better. The truth was that a commitment built through pressure and hidden information could not become healthy simply because both families had invested time. The approved partner asked whether your person planned to contact you that night. Your person said no. This answer surprised everyone. They explained that discovering the truth created urgency inside them, but you had lived with the consequences for much longer. They could not appear suddenly, describe the family betrayal, and expect you to manage their emotions. First, they needed to separate themselves from the financial system that had made fear so powerful. They signed documents relinquishing certain privileges they could have kept. Although the marriage condition was false, other family members still had the power to make the transfer difficult. Your person accepted that challenging the trustees might cost money, status, and access to the house. They no longer wanted the property if receiving it required pretending what happened was acceptable. The house had once represented security. Now it represented every decision they allowed someone else to make. Your person said, "A home that demands I betray my own life is only a beautiful place where I learn to disappear." They left the meeting without knowing whether the trust would be transferred, challenged, or divided. Several relatives followed, warning that one emotional decision could affect generations. Your person turned around and said ending the connection with you had also affected years of two lives, but no one treated that loss as important because it did not appear inside a financial report. They were finished measuring human truth only through property. After leaving, your person sat alone with the recording, the old letter, and the ring. They considered calling you. Your number remained saved, although they had changed phones more than once. Their hand moved toward the call button, but accountability stopped them. They needed to understand what they were truly asking. Did they want to apologize? Did they want forgiveness? Did they want reassurance that the future was still available? Did they want you to confirm that rejecting the proposed marriage had been worthwhile? They realized placing those needs upon you immediately would repeat an old pattern. Once again, you would be expected to absorb the emotional consequences of decisions made elsewhere. Your person wrote several versions of the message instead. The first said, "I chose you today." They deleted it because they had not truly chosen you during the moment when your choice mattered most. They had chosen honesty today. Whether honesty ever leads back to you remains your decision. The second message said, "I gave up everything for you." They deleted that too. You never asked them to sacrifice property or family. Presenting the decision as a gift would create emotional debt. They were correcting a life shaped by control, not purchasing another chance. The third message began with the truth. Someone asked whether I would marry someone else. I said no. Not because I expect you to return, but because I finally understood that marrying anyone while hiding what happened between us would be dishonest. Your person continued by admitting what they once refused to say. They had planned to propose to you. The ring existed. The questions about your future were not casual. The private promises were real. When they denied seeing marriage with you, they were repeating a lie created by fear. They say, you were not imagining the future. I was building it with you until I became afraid of its cost. This confession may answer a question you carried for a long time. You may have wondered whether you misunderstood every intimate conversation. Perhaps you believed you heard commitment where your person intended only temporary affection. You may have judged yourself for taking their questions seriously. The ring proves the future was not your invention. But it does not erase what happened after. A person can intend commitment and still fail to provide it. A hidden ring cannot comfort someone who received a public rejection. Your person understands this. They will not use the ring as proof that you should overlook the years of silence. It represents what they wanted, but behavior represents what they gave you. They gave you uncertainty. They gave the family authority. They allowed fear to speak in their voice. That is the injury the message must acknowledge. Your person writes, I told you to find someone who could give you the future you wanted. I said that because I believed losing you would protect everyone else from consequences. I expected you to survive the rejection without understanding why it happened. I made you feel difficult to choose so I would not have to admit I was too frightened to choose freely. This is not a romantic excuse. It is an admission of cowardice. Your person is not blaming the family for every part of the ending. The trust was misrepresented. The ring was hidden. The approved partner knew more than they admitted. Yet your person still looked directly at you and confirmed words they knew were untrue. They had opportunities to seek independent legal advice. They could have shown you the document. They could have questioned why a deceased relative's wishes were being explained only through people who benefited from control. They did none of those things. The family built the pressure. Your person chose silence inside it. Both truths belong in the story. They also recognize that you may now be willing to marry someone else. This possibility causes pain, but they refuse to describe it as betrayal. You were released through words that sounded final. You built your later life using the information your person gave you. If another person has offered consistent love, you do not owe the past priority because a ring has been found. Your person says they will not appear at your engagement, disrupt a healthy relationship, or claim destiny gives them ownership over you. If you are committed elsewhere, they will provide the truth and step back. They understand that arriving with courage later does not mean arriving on time. But if you are free and willing to speak, they hope for one conversation. Not a proposal. Not immediate reconciliation. One meeting where the story can finally exist without trustees, relatives, approved partners, or manipulated documents. They want to give you the older relative's letter and show you the complete trust. They want you to know that someone inside the family saw your connection and did not believe you were dangerous. They want to return the ring to the decision it originally represented. Perhaps you will ask what they plan to do with it. Your person says they will not place it upon your hand during the first meeting. Doing that would convert years of pain into a dramatic scene and pressure you to respond emotionally. The ring will remain closed until trust, if trust ever returns, creates a new decision. The old proposal cannot simply continue from where fear interrupted it. Both people have changed. Any future must be chosen again. The family may attempt to contact you. They might say your person is making irrational decisions because of unresolved feelings. They may ask you to convince them to continue the approved marriage or accept the trust. Do not become part of that negotiation. You did not create the condition. You did not hide the ring. You did not ask your person to reject property. The conflict belongs to the people who used family security to control emotional freedom. Your person has instructed everyone not to contact you without permission. For the first time, they are protecting your name without using protection as a reason to silence you. They are learning that genuine protection preserves another person's choices rather than making choices for them. They are also preparing practically for the consequences. If the trust becomes contested, they have arranged independent employment and housing. They are reviewing finances that were previously connected to the family. They may need to rebuild a life with fewer privileges. This matters because words spoken in an emotional meeting can sound courageous while dependence remains unchanged. Your person knows that continuing transformation will be tested after the room becomes quiet. Will they remain firm when family guilt begins? Will they refuse the proposed marriage when loneliness appears? Will they continue speaking truth if the house is actually lost? Will they respect your boundaries if you need months rather than days? They will not say, "I rejected someone for you." They will say, "I ended something dishonest because everyone involved deserved the truth." They will not say, "I lost my inheritance because of our love." They will say, "I refuse to let property control my personal decisions." They will not say, "You must return because I finally chose you." They will. Their answer to, "Would you marry someone else?" matters. Their behavior after the answer will matter more. You should not decide whether they have changed only because everyone in the room became silent. Silence surrounded your connection before, and silence was not always evidence of truth. Observe what follows. A sincere person will not rush you. Say, "I understand why my late courage may not change your present choice." This language will reveal whether accountability is real. Your person hopes you hear the original recording because written words could be edited or interpreted. In the audio, you can hear that the question was direct. You can hear relatives describing the benefits of marrying someone else. You can hear the pressure, the warnings, and the fear of losing security. You can also hear how quickly your person answered. No, there is no long pause. No request for additional time. No attempt to satisfy both sides. When the lawyer asks why, your person says, because I already destroyed one person's trust by choosing what everyone else wanted. I will not destroy another person's life by marrying them while pretending that choice made me whole. The approved partner asks, "Do you still love them?" Your person answers, "Yes." Then they add something more important, "But loving them does not mean they owe me another chance. It means I finally owe them the truth." That may be the strongest part of the answer. In the past, your person treated feelings like private evidence that the connection should survive. They believed loving you secretly made their hesitation more understandable. Now they see that love is not valuable only because it feels deep. It becomes valuable when it produces honesty, courage, and respect. Their private love did not protect you from rejection. Their hidden proposal did not create security. Their regret did not answer your questions. Only visible action can begin correcting what invisible feelings allowed. Your person is not asking you to compare yourself with the approved partner. This was never a competition where one person needed to win and the other needed to lose. The proposed partner offered qualities that may be genuine. The relationship ended because it lacked freely given truth, not because that person was worthless. You also do not need to prove that you would have been the better spouse. Your person already understands the problem was not your suitability. The problem was their inability to withstand disapproval. Another partner could fit perfectly into the family system because the system required no transformation from your person. Loving you required them to become responsible for their own life. They confused that responsibility with danger. Now they understand that a person who never chooses independently cannot create a dependable marriage with anyone. Whether the future includes you or not, they must become that person first. Your person's final message says, "Someone asked whether I would marry someone else. I could have said yes and kept the home, the business, and the approval I was taught to value. I said no because another marriage would not correct what I did to you. It would only hide it beneath a new promise." They continue, "I once told you I could not see a future with you. That was a lie. I had already designed the ring. I had already imagined the home. I could see the future clearly. What I could not see was a version of myself brave enough to face everyone who opposed it." Then they release you from responsibility. "I am not sending this so you will reward me for finally becoming honest. I do not know your life now, and I will not assume my answer changes it. I need you to know that you were never impossible to marry. You were the person I wanted to marry before fear taught me to call obedience responsibility." Perhaps reading this message will bring relief. Perhaps it will bring anger. You may hold the truth and ask why the courage appeared only when the family's manipulation was exposed. Your person cannot give an answer that returns the lost time. They can only demonstrate that the person who once required certainty before making a choice is now choosing truth without certainty. They do not know whether you are waiting. They do not know whether the trust will remain theirs. They do not know whether family relationships can be repaired. They still answered no. Not because they plan to remain trapped in the memory of you forever, but because marriage should never become a method for escaping an unresolved heart. Before they promise themselves to anyone, they must become honest enough to keep the promise. If your answer is no, they will need to grieve without using another person as emotional shelter. If your answer is that you need time, they will need to wait without demanding a deadline. If your answer is that you are willing to talk, they will need to rebuild slowly without treating one emotional conversation as complete repair. Every possible outcome requires maturity they previously avoided. You deserve the freedom to choose the outcome that protects your peace. Do not answer because the ring exists. Do not answer because the family meeting became dramatic. Do not answer because your person may lose a house. None of those things creates your obligation. Answer only if the person standing outside that conference room demonstrates the honesty they spoke about inside it. A powerful answer can silence an entire room. Only consistent action can quiet the doubts inside your heart. Comment: I will only accept love that chooses honestly, if you believe marriage should never be controlled by fear, money, family pressure, or hidden arrangements. Like this video if you believe true love requires public courage as well as private feelings, and subscribe for more messages that remind you that another person's delayed bravery was never proof that you were difficult to choose. Someone asked the person you love, "Would you marry someone else?" Everyone expected them to protect the house, accept the approved future, and allow your memory to remain buried beneath responsibility. Instead, they refused the marriage, exposed the false condition, and admitted that the ring hidden for years had always carried your name. But the most shocking part of their answer was not that they still loved you. It was that they finally understood love does not give them a claim over your future. It gives them a responsibility to tell the truth and let you choose freely.